on in cold weather. An adventure. My glasses are foggy. Goggles really help with the wood smoke.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. I just remembered that I was gonna divide the lye in half and put indigo in one half. So one half of the soap will be white and one will be blue. So about 2 cups. Oops. They're too hot. I didn't think that would be the problem. I thought they cooled off way faster. I need to leave that lid off.
I hope it's alright to get some ash and cinder in here.
Well, it's part of the ambiance of this batch, right? Just thinking out loud. So I've got the soap divided into 2 halves. So I'm going to mix each half and then add some yogurt to each one. One's going to be white, one's going to be blue. Knock on wood. Then I'm going to fill a squeeze bottle partway with the white. Or wait, what did I write down? And then do an in the pot swirl. And then I think we're good.
Are you trying to keep it warm now?
Yeah, it's already down to 93, which is fine, but I'm guessing it's gonna cool off. I'm probably gonna just be stirring and trying to get it to trace for a while. My hen is a good old hen. She lays eggs for the railroad men. Sometimes one, sometimes two, sometimes enough for the whole dang crew. Cluck old hen, cluck and sing. Ain't laid an egg since way last spring. Cluck old hen, cluck and squall. Ain't laid an egg since way last fall. Takes a lot longer without a stick blender, an electric blender. So usually you tell if soap is ready to pour by if it's come to trace, they call it, which is hard to see with it being this dark, but if you drizzle some on the top, it leaves a little trail.
I can't.
I know, I don't think it's really quite doing that yet, but there's also, when I was watching it drip, it reminded me of when we test our maple syrup, and that maybe when it sheets off the spoon, it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
So not quite there yet. Although some people take it to emulsion, which isn't quite to trace, and that can work for some design purposes also, so I might just do that because I'm impatient. And it's getting dark. I'll give it, it's not quite tracing yet. Oh, well, maybe a really tiny, not really. Not quite. I think it's at emulsion. Let's see. It's a little hard to tell in this light. It's getting there. Okay, so this is activated charcoal mixed with water. It was boiling water when I mixed it. Obviously not now. And this stuff is super messy. This is going to be for our raindrops. We're making Storms of November soap. So what we're going to do with these, this doesn't look blue, it looks kind of greenish gray. Indigo does kind of weird things in soap at different stages, but hopefully as this cures, it'll turn a bluer color. So we're doing what we call an in the pot swirl. Hopefully these are thick enough, this won't all just separate. We'll see. Might be a more subtle swirl than I had planned because it's still pretty liquidy. Okay, and then usually I would mix it a little with the spoon, just a couple swirls, but I don't think I'm going to do that this time because it's already mixed itself pretty well, possibly more than I wanted. Okay. So we're ready to pour this in the mold. Yay! Now what I've found is if I pour this right down the middle, back and forth lengthwise, it somehow creates this really neat swirl this way once you cut it. It looks like a neat swirl that way, so that's what I'm going to try for again this time. So to make a raindrop, you get your soap right there to the tip, and you submerge the tip down in there and run it along, and gravity kind of pulls that line down into like the line kind of sags and makes a drop shape once you've cut it. You know what? Let's just decorate the top a little bit. So I'm just swirling the very, very top of this. Alrighty. There it is. Let's see how warm it is. It's at 73, which isn't too shabby for being out here all the time. Let's stick it right here where the heat will kind of blow on it. So the heat's a catalyst for chemical reactions, and it helps keep the saponification reaction that makes soap going. If it cools off too much, it's gonna possibly not work the way it should. So try to keep it a little warm. Hopefully it'll solidify enough we can carry it back to the house before too long, but we'll see. This side was by the fire and it's a little bit firm, while this side away from the fire is still pretty liquidy. Should have thought of that.
Okay, so we're trying to move this up the hill without spilling it. So I'll take 4 or 5 steps and then turn around and cast a light for Jenny. So keep walking.
Yeah, the swirl changed a little bit, carrying it back up the hill. So this has salt brine in it, which can make it crumbly if you don't cut it soon enough. So you can see it's already a little on the crumbly side. I don't know if this side might be less crumbly. You can see the blue in there from the indigo, and this kind of like yellowy green will probably turn more blue as it cures. We'll see. It's not quite what I had pictured, but it's cool. Oh, dang it. It's so crumbly. I should have cut it sooner, probably. Okay. Well, we're back. It's snowed a lot since we were out here last time. A lot. And we just wanted to say a couple things. I wanted to say a couple things really quick about a few things we do different next time. this is the finished bar of soap, and you can see the like crack on the top there. This is actually one of the more intact bars, but they were quite crumbly, which was a number of factors. Mostly, I think I water discounted too much for the amount of salt I used in the recipe. So live and learn. But yeah, I wanted to show you the final product, and then also a few things I would do different. I would probably mix the batch a little at a higher temperature than I did. I mixed it in the 90s, low 90s, which is indoors really great, but out here when it was so cool, it cooled off faster than I wanted it to. So I would mix it hotter. And I would remember to bring insulating material to keep the soap warm after it's poured in the mold, to maintain that heat, because the heat is important for that chemical reaction, the saponification reaction that makes the soap. So, you know, some towels or something. And we also thought about bringing some things to actively add some heat to keep it warm, like a hot water bottle or some bricks that we could heat up in the fire and then put on each side of the mold. And I think the final thing was I set the mold next to the fire and never thought about rotating it. So the one side next to the fire got really nice and warm and solidified sooner, while the outside edge was still liquidy and moving around, which made for some not only interesting designs, but I think maybe contributed to sort of a fault line that runs through the soap in some places. So, oh, and the other thing we thought of is, you know, a lot of soap makers these days use these immersion blenders, electric hand blenders, which are really nifty and speed up the process, because it's, you know, just bringing all the elements in the soap together to react sooner and faster. And obviously out here, whisking by hand works, but it takes a lot longer. And so we thought we might try to find a set of stainless steel egg beaters, you know, the good old-fashioned kind you crank and the whisks spin around, to try to speed up that process a little bit. And they need to be stainless steel, because if they're aluminum, that will react with the soap in bad ways. So those are some things we'll try next time. I just thought I'd also show you quickly, I made the same exact batch indoors, and it came out more like I imagined. A little bit, a lot less crumbly, smoother. The design was more what I envisioned. The design in this one got all whopper-jawed because as we were hiking it up the hill, it was, as careful as we were being, it was sloshing around a little bit. So it's still pretty, but this is what I was shooting for.
Which is which?
This is the one we made outside. This is the one we made inside. So both nice soaps, just very different from the same recipe, which is kind of cool to see how much different factors can affect the outcome. So that's it. We'll do some more adventures next time. Stay warm. Way.
Yeah. All right, now it's going.